number 10 is Maze Runner, up £8 for winning and winning well and beating stable companion Dark Voyager, of course, and Run for Oscar at the Curragh on Derby weekend, 2 mile handicap. And handiest sort of horse coming out of 22, which is going to struggle from there. Elliot Ogren on board, taking the 5 off.
Horses on the way down to the start for our feature event on the opening night here at Galway. It is the Connacht Hotel Qualified Riders Handicap, and having a look there at the top weight, Favourite Moon, along with some of the Willie Mullins contingent, Maze Runner and Far Out amongst those. But a strong favourite currently at 3 to 1 is Echoes in Rain. Patrick Mullins bidding to win the race for the first time. Lisa O'Neill alongside me. Lisa,
for me, what I've seen of her, I thought she settled very well in the Curragh off what was probably a nice enough pace as well, but I think she's maybe maturing and settling a little bit better with racing as well. So maybe they feel obviously that there's no need for the hood on her today, obviously, but
it doesn't always work out in this race, doesn't it? So much needs to go right in terms of luck and running. How big a stumbling block do you reckon the draw is going to be as well?
It's not ideal, Gary, by any means, to be fair. Drawn out in 21, as I mentioned earlier in the opening part of the show, when you're sat out that far in the starting stalls, you're actually facing on the chase track. You're actually heading towards a chase fence, so you need to be outsmart and slot in to a nice position. But the main thing is to get out quickly and try and get in and get a position to be able to ride your race from there. But obviously you'd prefer to be drawn much lower as well. But this is a monkey on Patrick Mullins' back that he definitely wants to get off, and for riding for the champion trainer as well. I know he went close with Limini back a few years ago, but you'd like to think the fact that a grade 1 novice winner over hurls and went so close to Honeysuckle not too long ago, solid performance on the flat the last day, potentially unexposed, but should enjoy this 2 mile trip.
There she is. The hood is left off today. Lisa, I know you've got a real liking for his stable companion Far Out, the mount of Jody Tennant, who won it a few years back on Great White Shark. Just what in particular interests you about that one?
I just think he has a lot in his favour, Gary. He's a nice draw, he's a nice weight. I think he'll see out this trip really well. He's a winner around this track as well over hurls. That definitely has to play to his advantage. Obviously Jody Tennant, as you mentioned, has won it before with Great White Shark. Can she do it again on Far Out? If I was backing something, my money would be on Far Out, I think. But as we see them loading up into the stalls, Winter Watch is another one for Harry Fry, who sends over plenty of horses to Galway, and I'm sure he's had this race picked out for a long time, with Anya O'Connor claiming a very valuable £5.
We had a quick glimpse there of Yumdor who's come in as a reserve here. That's another of the Willie Mullins contingent. Pat Taff is putting up £1 over on Cask Mate here, so unable to claim his full £7 allowance on Noel Mead's Cask Mate. Is a strong travelling type, as we see Dutch Schultz kicking out there down at the start. Back from It's Lot of Joy, I beg your pardon, two of them in very similar colours. That's Lot of Joy, the new recruit for Willie Mullins, who's come from Scandinavia. Barry O'Neill in the plate.
Same owners, just different colour. Yellow hat on Light of Joy and a white cap on Dutch Schultz. She's pretty unexposed coming in here as well, Gary. It's hard to equate the form that we've seen of her to the Irish form, but obviously Barry O'Neill is a good acquisition on her back.
Final one to load is Maze Runner for the Connacht Hotel Qualified Riders Handicap.
That off, losing ground, coming out of stalls, Linwood Gold, as they begin up the far side in the main race of the evening, the Connacht Hotel Galway Amateurs Handicap. Linwood Gold doesn't want to know about it in these early stages. Up front, it is Call My Bluff, Taipan, Fat Out, being followed by Foveros. Purple Cap on the outside of Crowns Major, and then Winter Watch and Coulter. Last year's winner beating the reopposing Foveros as they sort themselves out coming down the hill the first time. Call My Bluff, one of two visitors in the race, disputes the lead with Fat Out, and in between them is Taipan. Then Yumdor on the outside of Foveros, Crowns Major and Winter Watch and Cask Mate next, with Dutch Schultz, the white cap. No Say Ever next, and these are being followed into the straight by Coulter. As Called My Bluff leads by half a length to Taipan. Close up in third is Far Out, followed in by Humdor and Favros and Crowns Major and Winter Watch and Colton and No Say Everton, Castmate and Dutch Schultz next with Mona's Melody. Half Jacket in mid-division of Echoes and Rain, then Favourite Moon and Powerful Aggie and Lot of Joy and Maze Run and Wee St. George. Whiskey Sour is out the bag, and catching up is Linwood Gold after that tardy start. The leaders are tightly grouped. Call My Bluff by half a length to Taipan, another half a length back to Far Out in third, then Crowns Major. Favros next with Winter Watch and Humdor and Coulter, followed by Castmate, No Say Everton, Dutch Schultz and Lot of Joy. Echoes and Rain next, pushed along on the outside, Mona's Melody, and then Wee St. George and Favourite Moon and Powerful Aggie next as they head for the halfway stage. They're being followed by Maze Runner and Linwood Gold and Whiskey Sour, a few lengths off them at the back of the field. Less than a mile to go. It's Called My Bluff by 3/4 of a length to Taipan. In third is Far Out. Little changes in the first three, then Crowns Major. Winter Watch next with Favros and Humdor and Coulter. No Say Everton, Castmate next on the inside. They're being followed by Echoes and Rain, who's edging that little bit closer. Wee St. George next on the inside of Lot of Joy as they reach the final 6.5 furlongs. They're well inside the halfway stage in the Connacht Hotel Galway Amateurs Handicap, and it's close for the lead with Call My Bluff. Far Out on the outside of Taipan. The three are abreast, followed by Winter Watch. Crowns Major next with Humdor and Favros and Castmate. Coulter followed by Echoes and Rain, who's continuing to work up to the leaders with 5 furlongs to go. They're really boxed up. Call My Bluff pushed along the inside, has relinquished the lead to the grey Far Out, then Taipan and Crowns Major next with Favros. Humdor on the outside of Winter Watch and Castmate and Coulter next with Echoes and Rain. Favourite Moon after them with Maze Run and Dutch Schultz and Lot of Joy. They race down the hill, just over 3 furlongs to go, and Far Out has kicked on by a couple of lengths, being followed by Crowns Major. Taipan is struggling to keep position. They're followed by Maze Runner and Echoes and Rain, who received a bump from Coulter as they race round the home turn. Just over 2 to go. It's Far Out. Castmate has come out of the pack. Closing is Echoes and Rain. They're followed by Maze Runner, and Crowns Major is next with Dutch Schultz. They turn into the straight, a furlong left to go, and it's Castmate on the outside of Far Out, poised. Coming there is Echoes and Rain, then Maze Runner, Dutch Schultz and Lot of Joy racing to the final furlong. Echoes and Rain from on the outside, Maze Runner, then Castmate and Dutch Schultz, Lot of Joy, Favourite Moon, but it's Echoes and Rain a couple of lengths in front as they run up towards the finish. Echoes and Rain is the one to rectify the omission of the Galway Amateurs for Patrick Mullins, beating stable companion Maze Runner, followed in by Dutch Schultz, Lot of Joy, Castmate, and Favourite Moon next.
Well, it was just about the only race for amateurs missing from Patrick Mullins' CV, and that is the case no longer. Echoes in Rain has won the Connacht Hotel Qualified Riders Handicap under the champion amateur. Willie Mullins up and running for the week, and it was a typically confident ride. Slightly anxious moment coming down the hill when she got a fairly nasty bump from Coulter, last year's winner, but all told she travelled through the race. Lisa let the class act. We know she is.
She did, Gary. She travelled menacingly through the race, and Patrick was able to come up that hill where he needed, still on the bridle, to preserve a little bit of energy for his kick for the finish. You can see Maze Runner was going to come and land down a challenge. I thought maybe this was going to be Patrick's race, overturned again by his stable companion, but it wasn't. It was Patrick's day today, and he didn't need this race to put it in the diary, to show how good an amateur he is. I'm sure he'll get a fantastic kick out of that, but he is a top class amateur. He's the best amateur that Ireland has ever seen, and he just showed today that he can do it with every race he gets. But this is a nice performance. She caught my eye here, Gary, just heading down the back. She was starting to come on the bridle. I noticed in her race when she ran against Honeysuckle over hurls in Punchestown that she actually started off the early fractions of the race very nice and relaxed, and came on the bridle, maybe going down the hill after they passed the stands at that kind of downhill section in Punchestown. But she's done the same here with Patrick. She travelled away lovely early on and just comes on and off the bridle at different points and times, but she was quite keen at this stage, Gary, but it didn't really matter. She's the quality horse in this race, and it was a quality performance overall.
And speaking of keen, we just see Far Out about to take up the running here from the long-time pace setter who's dropping back at this stage. That was Call My Bluff. Were you always just a little bit worried, Lisa, that maybe she Jodie's men had done a little bit too much early on.
Yeah, Jodie's horse Farah was sharp and quick from the stalls, had a lovely draw. She wanted to make use of her draw, but probably had no cover in the early part of the race and was maybe a little bit keen, just maybe over raced that fraction, that maybe just denied the bit of finishing kick that she needed, but has run a good solid race overall, but maybe just a bit too keen early on for my liking. You can see here, this is a point just there where Coulter gave Echoes of Rain a bit of a bump, but Patrick was travelling menacingly at this point in time. Solid run obviously by castmate of Noel Meads as well, who I thought maybe was going to land down a big challenge, but Echoes of Rain was ultimately the much better horse on the day.
Yes, and first, second and fourth for Willie Mullins Maze Runner, running a screamer under Elliot Ogren in second, and the new recruit, A Lot of Joy, has finished fourth in the end, and the owners of that horse also had the third, Dutch Schultz, who ran really well for Gavin Cromwell, but Echoes of Rain, the class act in the field, and cashing in on a nice mark of 87. I suppose the big question now, Lisa, is will she turn out under top weight in the hurdle on Thursday? I'd be betting she will.
Every chance, Gary. Yeah, I mean, she showed she's handled this undulating, turning, twisting track of Galway with very good fashion, and I don't think she's had that hard a race, really, to be honest, Gary. You know, she's travelled to a furlong and a half out, and she's only really had to race from the furlong and a half to the winning post. Obviously, Patrick's given her a couple of backhanders, but I think there's every chance we're going to see her again later in the week, and it'll be very interesting if she does. She's a class above the rest of them here today, Gary, and I know Patrick will get a serious kick out of walking into the winner's enclosure for this race, which he's attempted to win on a 16 try.
I'd say if she does run, there's a strong chance he'll ride her again also, because obviously she's got top weight and most of the other Mullins horses will be too light for Patrick to ride them. If she doesn't run, it changes the landscape of Thursday's big race completely, because the weights will go up considerably. That decision obviously still to be taken, declaration stage in the morning, but as Lisa said, breezed into contention. It's only really that last furlong and a half or so where she's come off the bridle.
Maze Runner has put in a really good performance. Obviously, he's had to deal with a hike from his win in the Curragh the last day, but he won with consummate ease the last day at the Curragh. And I thought if one of Willie's maybe that had a bit of a chance each way was the likes of Maze Runner. It's so hard to maybe put one each way because it's such a wide open contest, but I was very convinced with his performance in the Curragh last day, and this is another convincing performance. I suppose dealing with the hike as well in the weights that he's had to deal with. I think he went up maybe, was it 8 pounds, I think, for the last day, the win in the Curragh, but this is another good performance to finish second to a very classy filly.
Showing top weight has run pretty well too. Favourite Moon back in 6th position there. Whiskey Sour, of course, a former winner, not disgraced either, but it was all about Echoes in Rain, and she has justified her position atop the market, Anthony, by taking the day one feature. Patrick Mullins finally gets his name on the big race Roll of Honour.
And you only really have one moment of worry if you were on Gary. She was travelling all over them. She was still a little bit keen, as Far Out made the bid for home about 4 out. Ultimately, he's faded away, having been a little bit too keen. But this is a classy mare at this kind of level, and she's proved it again. Be great to see her later in the week as well. 11-4 favourite scores under Patrick Mullins for Father Willie and Barnan Stud. Second, Maze Runner 16-1. Third, Dutch Schultz 20-1. Fourth, Lot of Joy, a real eye catcher, probably just didn't quite get home, 10-1. But finally, on the 17th try, Patrick Mullins raises a fist in triumph. Echoes in Rain finally gets him this coveted prize. The Connacht Hotel Qualified Riders Handicap has Patrick Mullins on its Roll of Honour.